Scrimping and saving all of your cash to retire at age 35. Good plan. Hold on 1 second though. It may not be all it's cracked up to be. I'll explain why next on BTP Fusion. CNBC recently posted an article on the downsides of early retirement. Link in the description. In it, they describe 5 possible downsides to retirement early. We'll discuss those 5 plus a few others, and most importantly, what you can do about it if you find yourself in this quote-unquote unfortunate circumstance. But before we dive into that, don't forget to like and subscribe for more great content. And now, the first downside, lack of identity. When one retires from any occupation, you're bound to experience a little bit of an identity crisis. If you hate your job or if you love it, chances are people know you for doing it and you have come to identify with doing that line of work. By the time you're ready to retire, you have either trained to do it from your childhood, somehow found yourself doing it out of necessity, or ended up doing it because no one else would. In all cases, you've likely gotten good at it, and your self-esteem is now linked to being able to provide that good or service and provide it well. When you stop doing that, there is bound to be a little bit of a psychological withdrawal. It is a similar effect to what happens when an athlete retires from their chosen sport. There's a sense of what's next. I have so much time ahead of me. This lack of direction and identity can lead to picking up useless or bad habits in extreme cases. In other words, more time to goof off means more time to, as an example, hang out at the club, getting bottle service, trying the latest designer hallucinogenics, getting face tattoos, etc. And these are just extreme examples. You could end up forming negative friendships. Remember that you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. If you hang out with 5 retirees, you're just one of them. If you hang out with 5 energetic billionaires changing the world, chances you will find yourself to be similar to them. Next up on the list, analysis paralysis. The author mentions that since you have so much time, you're now in the position to second guess your decisions in retirement. Most people who have the income to retire early retire at the height of their economic prowess, with the exception of the aforementioned athletic types. When you do that, it's easy to second guess that decision. You could easily see yourself making the same amount of money for just one more year to add to your retirement nest egg, or expand your passive income streams. What's more, each decision that you now make becomes easier to second guess, as you are likely no longer making the income you once did. You find yourself constantly wondering if that next large purchase will take you off target to keep your money for the rest of your life. Oh, the humanity. Sarcasm aside, we're now up to number 3, the appearance of being a grifter. If you see someone young with nothing to do who's just hanging out at the malls with expensive, exotic car, scoping out the new young talent, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Maybe this guy's a drug dealer, or that this guy sure was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. It's likely not. I bet he worked really hard and scrimped and saved during his teens and early 20s, and now can enjoy hanging out at the mall for hours on end, getting lattes and flirting with Dave and Buster's waitresses. If you're the kind of person who cares about appearances, and to a degree, aren't we all? This perception can become annoying. So when you retire early due to following the advice of this and other YouTube channels, maybe don't hang out at the mall for hours on end. Number 4, it's not all typed up to be. This one is somewhat generic and a description of all the other points before it. But in general, you will not be much happier than when you were working hard and still in your job or in your career. This one is a little bit relative. If, for example, the height of your economic powers was flipping burgers, and you recently won the scratch-offs and now have more money than you or anyone in your family has seen in generations, chances are you'll be ecstatic for at least a couple of months. If you've been saving and hustling for a decade or more, you likely will have been slowly but surely accumulating your nest egg, and will not be surprised with the amount that you come up with. You may be a little disappointed, actually. Most people are disappointed with the amount of money they save up for retirement. Even if the amount you saved up is substantial and beyond your wildest imagination, once you've achieved that level, that is your new happiness baseline. And you are likely to stick to that until you have a new goal that you want to reach that you achieve. A little bit more on that later in our solutions section. The last downside mentioned in the CNBC article, boredom. Boredom comes from a lack of purpose. lack of excitement, both positive and negative excitement, and lack of motivation. It is a real emotion that is triggered when you don't feel challenged. Being challenged and overcoming that challenge is the essence of a great human story. In fact, it's the basis for most great fiction. What do you do when you've overcome the challenges that you've set out for yourself, and you have 60 or so years to goof off? If you do absolutely nothing every day for 30, 40, 50, 60 plus years, will you feel fulfilled? Will you feel challenged? Will watching daytime television all day, every day, give you any level of satisfaction? Can you imagine watching paint dry, grass grow, or water boil every second of every day? If so, this might not be a problem for you. For everyone else, however, it most certainly could cause issues. The author of the CNBC article only described 5 downsides, but I think I can recognize at least a couple of other downsides of an early retirement. Like I mentioned earlier, if you have achieved this level early in your life, you more than likely have done a lot of saving despite having a high income. Now that you are retired, you might become tempted to loosen the belt a little bit and live a little, quote unquote. This is caused by a phenomenon that you are likely familiar with. If we take a look again at the cases of people who unexpectedly come into wealth, lottery winners are a great example. Oftentimes, they find themselves in situations where they are pressured to spend more money on items than they normally would, since they can now afford it, quote unquote. When you tell other people you are retired, or even if you tell yourself this, you are now putting yourself into a pressure situation to spend money in ways you typically wouldn't have when you had a steady income or actively accumulating side income. It will take active participation on your part to help keep your friends and family in check. Just because you are retired does not mean your spending habits in any way should change. In fact, a prudent financial advisor may tell you that you should probably consider cutting back on your expenses. This may be a little bit of a tough pill to swallow if you've been living in Spartan mode for the last decade of your life. But that advice may just keep you from falling victim to the last downside of retiring early. Unretiring. That leads us to the final downside that I can think of, slipping out of retirement. Nothing is worse than achieving your goals, and then after attaining it, realizing that you can't maintain that lifestyle and ending up having to go back to work. After having quit at the height of your economic powers and skills, will you be able to achieve that same level once you have retired for a year, 5 years, 10 years? The younger you were when you were able to pull off your retirement, the more likely you will be to get back to your earning and efficiency peaks. But there is the chance that you may never get back there. You may have captured lightning in a bottle when you were first out there hustling. And the fact is, you just might not ever get back to that level. That is certainly something to think about. We are a solutions-oriented channel here at BTP Fusion, so we wouldn't just leave you guys hanging, presenting the downsides of retiring early, without talking about what you could do to overcome these downsides. A great answer is to just keep doing what you're doing, but do it on a different level. If you're a software engineer, real estate agent, advertising mogul, then once you hit that magic number, maybe it's time to start thinking about starting up your own firm. Start your own company, doing what you're already doing what you already love, but this time working for yourself. You get to come in early, leave late, or come in late and leave early. In either case, you get to watch the profits roll in and you still do what you love. Every once in a while, you can be hands-on and deep dive where needed. But what if you currently hate what you're doing? Well, now that you have the cash, volunteer to do something that you would love to do, but do it for free. Now that you have the time and the cash, you can now truly follow your passions, no matter how little it pays. Volunteer at a soup kitchen, at a local church, at a local school. Maybe volunteer for political or social causes that you're passionate about. Whatever it is, you now have the time and you now have the cash. What do you guys think? We all know the upsides of retiring early. Extra cash, extra time. We now have something to think about when it comes to the downsides of retiring early. Have you achieved early retirement? Have you experienced any other downsides? Let us know in the comments down below. If you happen to be one of the lucky few who have to grapple with this issue, leave us a comment. And also a like. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for more great videos from BTP Fusion.